Right, okay. You lot, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can catch all of our videos. And if you're really interested in the Krays, join our private Facebook group, Krays Crime Lords of London. You'll find over 1,000 videos and thousands of images. We're moderated and friendly. Come and give us a try.
Getting as much money as I now was every week, but without running any of the risks involved in armed robbery, had a lot to recommend it. Of course, the twins had realised this years before I did. They seem always to have understood that crime doesn't pay, but for them, they only ruled out straight crime, good honest-to-God thieving, which certainly is a mug's game. Far better to let other people risk going to jail. Then, if they're lucky, and they get away with a big wad, that's the moment you steam in and levy your underworld tax on them. Looking back, I wondered why I didn't get into this game sooner. Ronnie and Reggie Kray never did any skilled theft, burglary, or robbery themselves. They would never go on an organised blagging. They said that was strictly for jailbirds, but as soon as they heard someone else had it off, their first concern was, did they know anyone on the team? If they did, then they would go in for their share, their whack. They were just parasites, thieves' Ponces. It was common knowledge that the entire firm were thieves' Ponces. We'd wait for someone to have a blag off, and if we knew someone on the team, we'd go after them for our corner. That's how we operated day to day. We'd find out who's just had a tickle and go in. It's a despicable form of crime, nothing to be proud of, but we didn't even pretend to have pride in our craft. We weren't top-notch master criminals, we were just bloody thugs, simple as that. Leeches. Look what we did with a bunch of brothers, a second-generation Irish family called the Barrys. No relation, incidentally, to my stepfather. Two of them ran a club in Stoke Newington, the Regency, which the Krays once had a share in, but which we still used as kind of a clubhouse, especially the downstairs, for after-hours drinkers. We heard one day that some of the Barrys had got involved in dodgy fivers. They were supposed to have a printing press set up and were running off counterfeit £5 notes, which were pretty good, so we said we wanted a joey off them, a parcel. Like good little boys, they sent us a parcel containing £10,000. But there was a problem with them. As the first ones came off the press, the ink was heavy, which was okay. But as the print run continued, the ink became too light, which meant the later forgeries weren't any good. Because of this, the twins weren't happy with their parcel. No. They wanted a parcel that only had good ones. So we just went round and took a couple more parcels off them. We didn't buy them from the Barrys. We just demanded them because we knew the business. And they knew they couldn't refuse. Who could they complain to? The police? If we went to a team with the intention of profiting from their hard graft, we wouldn't necessarily tell them we knew they had it off yesterday. We might say, the word is that you've been a bit active lately. Then we'd say, the other two need a bit of dough, and they've asked us to pop round and see you because they'd done you a few favours in the past. We didn't use the word twins. Calling them the other two was enough. The other two need a bit of dough, and they want a monkey, or they want £1,000. No one I went to see for the Kray firm ever rebuffed me, because, as Don Corleone used to say, I was making them an offer they couldn't refuse. Not even the old chainsaw gang, who were supposed to be the top flyers at the game. Their leader, Big Splinter Woodruff, had put up a bit of resistance one night and come to grief. The incident happened, like so much else in this saga, in the Regency, where my colleague on the firm, Scotch Jack Dixon, came up to me one night and complained, "This bloke Woodruff is getting on my tits." So I said to Jack, "Well, do him." He said, "Like, leave off Albert. He's 17 stone and he keeps having a prod at me." Scotch Jack couldn't fight to save his life, but he used to whip people up into doing his fighting for him. This evening I decided I'd help out. I was with a girl at the time, so when Woodruff went to the toilet, I timed my attack. On his return, he had to walk 20 feet to get to the bar, so I got hold of the girl and pretended to dance with her, just to get moving. She didn't know what was happening. I spun her this way, then that way, as though I was in mid-dance. And when I knew where he was, I spun round on him and wham! I hit him on the chin and he went down. Then he rocked on his shoulders and started getting up. I thought, "Ooh, no," because I knew I'd hit him good. So I went back over, gave him another one, and he went down again. Then everybody seemed to steam into him, hitting him with bottles, until Parky Barry, who was both a counterfeiter and a robber, dragged him into a storeroom, then took him away. I had broken his jaw. The next time we should have met, we missed him. Apparently he was going down Whitechapel Road in a cab when he saw me and Reggie Kray walking along. Suddenly he dived on the floor saying, "They'll kill me, don't let them see me." Now you can imagine what the rest of his team thought of all this. He's supposed to be a big bandido, and there he is, grovelling on the floor. Our information had come through a middleman, acting for the chainsaw gang, who wanted to know why their esteemed leader had suffered the belting that gave him a wired-up jaw. The fellow also wanted to know whether this was the first strike in a Kray gang war. Was this going to carry on? I said no. But now I knew the way Woodruff was behaving. I decided we should take some money off him. So I continued. Apart from the fact that he's ruined Parky Barry's suit, and my suit too. Tell him to give me a 50 and that's the end of it. So a few days later, we had a meet in another of our pubs, the Carpenter's Arms in Cheshire Street. In came our middleman, with a guy from the chainsaw gang itself. He asked, "Is this a one-off or a regular bite?" "No," I said. "Just expenses, not a blag." So we got the 50, we had a drink with the guy, and he tailed it back to Woodruff. That encounter in the Regency, and especially the news that it had blown his nerve, destroyed his gangland status forever. But we only got that news because the twins had a spy in the shape of the middleman. It's not much of an exaggeration to say the Krays had 1,000 spies. Certainly hundreds have been carefully cultivated over many years by means of the twins' activities on behalf of the same jailbirds they had such contempt for the aways. in the name of the brothers Kray, the entire East End criminal fraternity would be drafted into fundraising for the aways. Any reluctance displayed by these donors wasn't caused by a lack of sympathy for their less fortunate comrades. It was down to their irritation that any gratitude would flow in the direction of the other two, and nobody else. All money raised by the Krays would certainly have reached the right people, because it served the twins' interests that it should. The Aways fundraising was conducted once a fortnight, according to a complicated ritual. We drank in quite a few pubs, and we gave each pub its own number. This was because the twins were convinced that all the phones they used were tapped. I don't suppose they were far wrong. Anyway, if I was out somewhere and I phoned the twins, I might say, "Everything's all right. Where shall I see you tonight?" Then Ronnie or Reggie would say, "Number 4. Right. Now, number 4 might be the Merry Widows in Bethnal Green, or it might be the Grave Morris in Whitechapel. And in the evening, you would go to that pub and either hand over that day's money or report on whatever you had found out. Once that business was done, people would be sent out to other pubs to gather up the rest of the clan. That was because the twins had already arranged meets with other people at some totally different pub. They'd have said, "Go to the Red Crown and we'll see you there at 8 o'clock. But now somebody else would have to go there at 8 and say, "Listen, the other two are round at the Merry Widows or wherever," and they'd take them there. If you think this is unnecessarily complicated, you must always remember that the twins were paranoid people who had every reason to believe the police had almost as many spies as they did. So, as the chosen place was filling up, and it might look promising if there were a few obviously rich guys there, the twins would wink at you and say, "Do the aways list." So now you would go round with a piece of paper and say, "We're collecting for the aways," and we'd get whatever we could get. Then some guy would say, "Well, who's away?" Well, we'd say, "Harry's doing 2, and then there's his missus, and he's got 2 kids. All right, here's 25 quid. Send that round to them, and on we go to the next guy, until we'd bagged up a pretty good sum, only part coming from the twins themselves. But the twins would get all the credit, because when we went round to see the man's wife, we'd say, "The brothers sent you round this to help out with the electric or the gas." And the woman would say, "Oh, aren't they lovely boys?" You still hear that today, lovely boys. But they were getting the glory for money that they had just nicked off other people. Even when you were doing this apparent act of kindness, you had to handle yourself carefully, in case the jailbird read things the wrong way. That's why we always went in pairs to an aways house, because you can imagine the guy is sitting in the nick while someone's going to his house, dealing with his wife and handing her money. That's why we had to be two-handed. I can think of only one occasion when somebody said "sod it" in effect to the aways. It was Lenny Hamilton, the man who'd been pokered by Ronnie and whom I'd stuck up for, only to get shot by Reggie. Well, the next time I saw Hamilton after my shooting, he came in the pub when I was doing the aways list, and he tried to give me just a £5. So I said, "You're not getting away with that, you little rat. I want some more." I managed to get 25 quid out of him, which upset him, because he couldn't buy a drink after that. I just wanted to get my own back. It was revenge for me. But I can understand why he didn't want to give generously to a Kray fundraiser. People rarely had to be forced to hand over a decent sum. This Hamilton incident was exceptional because it would have been dangerous for anyone to spurn a collection for the aways. The news that you hadn't forked out would rapidly be reported to Ronnie and Reggie, who wouldn't like to hear it. The bigger point is that when the aways came home, they were beholden to the Krays. As soon as they came out of jail, they were expected to go and see the twins to say thank you. Then they'd get a few instructions. But sometimes guys didn't do this, and then there'd be trouble. You'd get a report that Pete is out. Maybe he's been out a week. Then Ronnie might say, and he ain't been to see us yet, bastard. We sent him round some money. Now they're after getting the needle with him. So somebody would see Pete and say, listen, you'd better get round and see the other two, because they're getting a little bit shirty. But Pete may have screwed up his courage and resolved not to see them for all sorts of reasons. He might not have liked the idea of their henchmen coming to his home and handing unsolicited cash to his wife while he was locked up. Or he might have had a row with her because she's banned him from seeing them. I don't want you to go round there. I took the money because we needed it, but I still don't want you to go. He himself may resent the idea of grovelling to them in grateful homage. He might fear he could get involved in the scene again and wind up getting nicked. So he just wants to keep a low profile. Anything like this would have to be explained to Ronnie because he couldn't understand why anyone would want to go straight. But in the end, Pete would have to come in to clear the air, to explain directly to the twins why he hadn't come earlier. There must also have been times when wives didn't even tell their husbands that the Krays had given any money, which would have provoked rows all round. Not all the aways' money came from fundraising nights. Under the twins' instructions, I'd often pay out from what I had collected on the milk round. Go over and see Freddie's wife. He's in the nick, one of the aways. I think she's in a bit of trouble. Someone's rung up and says she can't pay her electric bill. So I might give her a £5 or a £10. Then the twins would get whatever was left from the round. I'd have to account for the rest. I'd tell them, she got a £10, he got a £5, this one got a score, and this is what's left. I had to keep a note of it all so the twins didn't think I was tucking a lot, pocketing a slice of the action. I never had to do that because I had enough action that was entirely mine.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope we see you there soon.
Leave a like and subscribe.